That is an interesting first. August is not yet done, and there are a little bit of rain, a few sprinkles. So you can see it here on the car, and maybe if I pan over, you can also see it over there. So that is very helpful. It is early and will help a little bit. Of course now we are not so much into forage except for the 7 sheep and the 4 horses, but it is still a good thing for the soil, and the sky is looking like this. So this is only a few sprinkles, but I can show you something about the sky from inside a building. So what I'm going to show you is the place that the previous owner built as a pig shelter. It was never accepted by the veterinarians, so it was supposed to be a quarantine shelter, and it has to have certain installation, and that includes this wire mesh there so that birds can't go in because they might bring a virus. And by the way, here is Mr. Cat, the one that was here from the beginning. And Mr. Cat better stays inside, but he knows that, because outside we do have the evil dogs. So the thing that I wanted to show you is this. So in the last video I showed you a tornado-like microstorm, and that is what it did. So it removed a part of this roof here. So now more things that we store there in the back, they will now get wet. And this is now coming to its end of its usefulness. And the first thing that we are going to build is an open shelter to also place the solar panels on, and more solar panels, because they're also blowing away. And then we will build a barn. So we did some arrangements so that we can afford this, and over autumn, spring and winter and spring we will then build a few things. And these buildings are all based on wood, but here and there have a concrete slab. You will see how this goes, and we will hire some help here and there, or if someone likes to participate, of course you're welcome. But we can manage a lot of these things between Uncle and I, so that's not a big thing. After all, this type of construction is pretty simple. And there will be a SketchUp drawing, and when I have this I show you, and then I can also talk a little bit more about that. But you can see this means we definitely need a different place for all that. And when nothing is stored in here anymore, that also includes those pallets there in the back and the feet, then we can remove most part of this building. There behind is the silo, that old one, that also got installed when the previous owner wanted to raise pigs here. And we will keep the silo standing for as long as possible and find another purpose for it. There certainly will be in a couple of years, I guess, but there will be. And so all this is now our next topic here in the farmyard, to get things in a better shape, because there where the sun shines, there will be the rain. So we need to get all this out of here and in a different place. So again, we are in the business of tying up loose ends, and I'm struggling a little bit to show you new and exciting things that we are doing, but there's not much happening. So for example, here is one loose end. There are 2 generators, they are damaged. You could probably build one working out of the 2, but we better send them into the factory so that they can fix this. Oliver, nein! Nein! Well, unknown things have to be marked. That is what Oliver intended to do. So, what I was about to say is, they have different problems. One is the alternator that's not working, and in the other case it's the engine, or the control for the engine, the engine electronics. So they have both their problems, but they are going back to the factory, and I have to say, let me show you the brand. This is a Spanish company, and they're very pleasant to work with. They call you back, they have things organized. For everything there's a working process, and so this is quite pleasant. There are companies in Spain that are well run, not all, but this company is. Unfortunately, these things have now accumulated a lot of hours, and therefore something broke. They are not for this kind of heavy use that we gave them. So we are now waiting for the instructions when a truck will show up, and then we will load them onto the truck, and in a while we should them get back, and they should be as good as new. And I like to take you over to a different place that is outside the farmyard, because I want you to see our little pond, which is actually the big pond, because we have been drawing out or pumping out a lot of water, and this has informed us now about a few very interesting things. But let's talk about this when we are at the pond. While I walk there, I can tell you that we have been inside of the office, indoors, and we have been talking about the next things that we are going to do. We are waiting on a little bit of money that makes this possible. So we are going to do a few construction projects, and the first construction project is somewhere over there, and an open stable, a barn, but open, just a roof basically, with some solar panels on top, so that this unpleasant situation of not having enough power generation is then finally coming to an end. So the 16 panels, or actually it's 18 now, that we have available produce quite a bit of power, but when there's a little bit of clouds and it is hot, then that power goes either to the air conditioning to keep ourselves cool, which is important when it's outside more than 40 degrees in the shade, or into the battery. And then at night we run out of power, so that's not a good thing. So this is one of the things that is going to be fixed. Now I need to open this and then tell you a little bit more. So now that I have this open, I can continue and tell you one more thing, but I do this while I'm still inside. So here on this platform there will be a workshop, and we have watched a few videos on YouTube, where else, about models of potential examples of this, and I came across one from a few people who call their channel Lamney Acres, and they are, well, by now it's probably finished, but they're in the process of airing videos about their own workshop build. It's a 12 by 12 meter, 40 by 40 feet building, and it's pretty much what we need. So we basically can copy what they did. So this is construction project number 2, and number 3 is right here where the dogs currently are standing. We want to have a small house here, so that when people come and visit, or volunteers, or a temporary employee for a couple of months or something like that, so that all these people have a place to stay. Because right now there's only our temporary house, and everybody who wrote in the past, I would like to help, I would come for 2 weeks or so, I had to decline the offers because there is no way to provide accommodation for these people, and at least not accommodation that I would like to provide. I'm not of the type to say, yeah, you can pitch your tent over there somewhere and then let them fend for themselves. Someone shows up here to help, and I should be accommodating. So that is what this third project is for. So we will have there, behind all this, a roof with a lot of solar panels, half of the material we already have. Then we will have a workshop there and this cabin, and then we will see. This of course has nothing to do with the ecosystem restoration project in itself, but it enables a lot of things. So with that solar roof we will have a lot more power, and the battery is always full. So I think we will have some 36 panels or so, and we have a 6 kilowatt inverter, and on a good day we only use half of it, and we can therefore definitely add a lot more panels, and especially on a grey day we should have more panels than we would require on a good day, like right now, because right now there is no clouds. So kind of overbooking the inverter. And then the workshop helps us to store certain things and also work on the inside. It's going to be very handy when it's wet and cold soon. Then we will enjoy this to do some indoor projects there. And like I said, that cabin is if someone, you for example, you who is watching this, would like to stay for a few days or a few weeks, then there is an option. So I'm now taking you here to the pond, and the interesting thing is, here is the well, and in there is a pump that is powered by that solar panel there, those two, and it does two things. It sends water into that water tower, into this storage tank, and you can see the line there. It also sends water directly into the farm bath, and we are using this time around for irrigation. And when we had not enough water coming from the well down at the outflow of the water reservoir, we switched a lot of load to this one here. And now let's see what that did, what it did to the pond. So here I am approaching the pond, and see, there's a lot of water missing. So before we started pumping that much out of it, there was a meter missing, and now it's probably 2. So you can see there's life in it, and it appears that the algae or whatever it is, the stuff here, is now less. So the fish might still be in there, because somehow this has diminished. But then you can also see it here on the shore, where it's stuck and is drying out. You can also see a few prints. So someone was here. Hard to tell which kind of animal, but of course there's wildlife around, and you see these things. I believe those are cattails. Yeah, they are cattails, because there in the background you can see a group that is definitely looking like cattails, and also here on the other side. So this is the pond, and we have been using it now for irrigation apparently. So this now informs us of an important thing. So we have this powerful pump that we originally bought in order to pump water from the lowest point of our land, where the outflow of the water reservoir is. The water reservoir is a 44 hectares of surface water reservoir. That's about 1 kilometer over there. and we happen to border the outflow of it. So basically it flows for a few meters through our land, and we have a well. That well was dug more than 40 years ago, so we have nothing to do with it. But we put a pump in there, and this pump is able to lift the water up. The highest point is about 60 meters higher, so it definitely lifts that water up to that elevation, and still it has some pressure. So now we are thinking to switch a few things around. So as we have this here, this is 3.5 meters deep, and I would think this is about 10 meters across and maybe some 30-35 meters in length. So you can now do the math, how many liters of water it contains, or cubic meters if you want to. And apparently this water is the same water bubble for the well that is over there where the pump is. So originally we thought we make a pump here that is floating. We install a pump here that is floating and rises and lowers with the water level. But it appears we don't have to do this. So instead we can put the powerful pump into the existing well, which makes handling and all the other things a lot easier. That well there. And apparently this will not dry out because we have this body of water here. And now there's also an explanation why it filled up after it was dug, and it happened at the height of summer somewhere in August a while back, because they are connected. So basically the well filled up this, and the water also came in from the ground, because as you might remember from a video with the title "We Struck Water," at 3.5 meters, when it's not too bad, the situation, we do have water. So whatever reaches to that depth, there will be moisture. So now we pump the water out of this and basically use it for all the irrigation all around. And then we have a water line that comes from there, and that is the one that is connected to the well at the outflow of the water reservoir. So we basically redirect that pipe and make it fill this pond. So every time we take water out of the pond, it gets refilled whole day from the outflow of the water reservoir for as long as the sun shines and as long as the cavern of that shallow well down there has some water in it. And this is fully automated, so there's nothing to do. The pump shuts off when the water level is too low, and it also shuts off when there is no sunlight. And next morning, when there is water and sunlight, it will start pumping. So that should keep this pretty full. And I doubt, with all the irrigation that we have running, especially for all the things that we want to do next year, that this will overflow. And now we have some rain in the forecast. Of course, it's only 40% and it's a week out, but temperatures have changed. So right now it is maybe 25 centigrades instead of 40. So that's a huge difference. It almost feels cold. And therefore we already had a cloudy day and a few sprinkles of rain. And so this is now the change of seasons. So we're now getting into autumn apparently. Let's see how wet this autumn is going to be. What I see from elsewhere in Europe, there are torrential downpours and people kind of freak out because of all that water that comes down all at once. We are prepared. We have our swales and other things where we can store water and hold it for longer and all this. I also talked to our friend who has this construction company here with all kinds of pretty tools, and he knows what we are up to. And one of the things that he is supposed to build us is this second pond. So similar like this, but longer and wider, up there, and then down in the valley where we have another seasonal creek, and the topography lends itself for this. So there we will dig another huge pond, and the idea is that this fills over autumn, winter and spring, and then we have a second water reservoir for our needs during summer. This will be for irrigation, you know, like the one here and everything else, because our personal water consumption isn't that much. And now that we have no cattle and only the horses and the dogs, that is not that much that will be consumed. So we can definitely stock a lot of water and then use it step by step. And maybe we find another place where we can also build another pond or some other structure. But in the case of a pond, it's a lot easier because you dig down, and when you are at 3.5 meters, then you basically connect to that water level, and then you have a storage tank, a very huge one. And you can calculate if that thing is 20 meters wide, 3.5 meters deep, and some 40-50 meters long, that's a lot of water. Because water, going forward, is our limiting factor. So, as you might remember from me talking about this, soon, well, it will actually be by spring, but you will see this. So we will plant a forest, and we will do so in strips. The width of the strip gets determined by the wobblers. So apparently they irrigate a 10 meter circle. Yeah, 10 meter is the radius. Sorry, not the radius, the diameter. Maybe a bit more, but as you want to have everything low pressure, 10 meters is going to be the width of this, and it can be long, but it depends a little bit on the terrain. And we will make these strips and then set Paulownia and native species there. That is the commercial part. And we will also run poultry underneath the trees step by step. So there will be a special part on our website kaimito.eu where this gets explained when the time comes. But here's the preview in verbal form. So we will build a forest strip by step. These strips will be irrigated for a while, I assume 3-4 years, and by then the trees and everything else should be self-sustained. We will see. And of course there will be other water retention features like swales or maybe an integrated pond somewhere. Step by step this gets decided. So here you have a little update. Our tomatoes here are coming along pretty late. I don't know why. They have been there on time. Some are already of a good size, but of course they are green. But last time I was harvesting tomatoes in November, so there's plenty of time for them to become ripe. So far it's looking good, and like I said, there will be probably infrequent updates and a bit here and there, because we need to do a lot of planning. I also found someone who is going to create a SketchUp drawing for us for the buildings, so that we have exact measurements, a material list and all the other things that you need, and also a clear visual reference about the building. And like I mentioned before, now that I'm here, I can show you that. So there, in front of that wall, there we will have this this roof, so that these solar panels there have a permanent home. 3 of them are already damaged, which is not good. It's the glass that's broken, and of course that has a negative effect. So this will then all get into better shape. And we will also hire someone who finishes this dog enclosure for us. So there will be these industrial fence 2 meters high, so that when we have people here, the dogs can be inside and the people on the outside. I don't want these dogs to mix and mingle with arbitrary people. It's not good for either one. So better have this in good shape so that they can spend a week in there without any trouble. So now that there's only Angel, what we are going to do is we will hire out specific tasks after we have planned them well, and also gotten a proposal from the person or the company who wants to do the job. And then that's it. So clear rules, tight ship, no more messing around. The only experiments will be small scale, and it is to learn something about plants. But for a lot of the things that we want to do, we already have a blueprint. So that's just a matter now of execution, and the actual execution of these forest strips, that is something that we can do from April on, not earlier. Because the palovnia trees, they will not be happy before. They require high temperatures. And by the end of April they usually resprout, and that's also the first moment when you can plant them. So end of April, beginning of May, that is when this thing starts. Before, we can do some earthworks, install irrigation and stuff like that. And of course, take care of everything here in that farmyard.